In my previous video, I explained the Linux SMB alternative Samba. If you haven't already, go check that video out because I'm not going to be covering it in this one. If you have already watched that video, you're probably like, dude, I need to know how to install and configure it. Get on with it. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. This is B from Talk Tech, and today I'm going to show you how to install and configure Samba. Stick with me. I have a favor to ask. If you like this type of video and want to see more content like it, make sure you are subscribed and hit the bell button for notification. Also, don't forget to give this video a like if you like it. Let me know what you liked, didn't like, or if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or emotional outbursts in the comment section below. And lastly, stick around all the way to the end to get the most out of this video. Let's do this thing. All right, so let me go ahead and shrink this down. All right, what I'm going to go ahead and do first, we're going to go ahead and do a sudo apt update. Ampersand, sudo apt install samba tac y. We're going to go ahead and combine these two commands together with the double ampersand. Sudo apt update updates our repositories. Sudo apt install samba tac y. We'll go ahead and install Samba. I've already got it installed in the system, so we're not going to be doing it again. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we need to go ahead and create a Samba user, Samba group, and set a Samba password. So let's go ahead and do that. Sudo group add. We're going to do tac system to create a system group because we don't need this to be a group for any users. It's going to be a system user group. And we're going to call that SMB group. All right, now we're going to create a user, sudo user add. Tac system to create a system user because we don't need a person to be able to log in with this user system. And we're going to do tac no create home because we don't need a home directory for it. We're going to go ahead and do tac group, and we're going to go ahead and add it to the group we just created. And then we're going to do tac s to go ahead and configure the shell, and we're going to configure that to bin/false because false will make sure that they don't have a shell and they won't be able to log in. We're going to just call that user SMB. Now we need to go ahead and set the SMB password for that SMB user. So let's go ahead and do SMB pass WD. And then we're going to go ahead and do tac A. Make sure you don't forget the tac A or it won't work properly. SMB. We're going to set the password. There we go. So we got that user added. We got the group added. We got the user added to the group. And we got an SMB password set. So we're good there. Let's clear this out. I'm going to cd to etc samba. All right, and here is the actual Samba configuration file, smb.conf. So it'll be in etc samba smb.conf. So let's do a sudo vim smb.conf. We've got a lot of stuff that's commented out here, which we can see with the hashtags. But we also have a lot of stuff in here that's not. So it's already got some default settings that are set there. You have two ways that you can go ahead and manipulate this file. So you can go ahead and manipulate the file as it is, add, subtract, edit as needed. The other option that you have is you can go ahead and create a fresh new copy, which is the way that I'll be doing it because I like to have it organized and ordered in a specific order. All right, let's go ahead and get out of here. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is, as you always should when making changes to a configuration file, is you want to go ahead and back up the configuration file. So we're going to do sudo cp smb.conf, and then we're going to do smb.conf .back, and our password. There we go. All right, and now let's go ahead and sudo rm tac f to go ahead and force remove the smb.conf file. And now sudo vim smb.conf. Right, there we go. We got our new file here. Now let me go ahead and just paste in the configuration. I gotta make just a quick adjustment to it. Just because it was missing something. There we go. Perfect. Okay. We've got our configuration in here. Now let's go ahead and talk about what all of this means. Now, you have two sections that we're going to be talking about today. And these are not the only sections, but these are the only ones that we're going to be relevant to what we're accomplishing today. So I'm going to go ahead and stick to these. Now, those are going to be the global section, which is global parameters that impacts the Samba server as a whole. And then you have the share section, which will set parameters for individual shares. So pretty simple. Now let's go ahead and talk about these global configurations. We have the worker, which is basically the SMB network. We have the server string, which identifies the Samba server. We have the server role, which is going to be a standalone server. We're not using it for any other services. So it's going to be standalone. Map to guest. What this tells the SMB daemon to do with user login requests that don't match a valid Unix user in some way. In this particular example, we're using bad user, which means logins with invalid passwords are rejected. If the username does not exist, it is treated as a guest login and mapped to the guest account. And then this last one here is going to be user share allow guest. This globally allows guest user to be set, but you still will need to set guest user access on an individual share level. And essentially what guest access is, you're able to access the share without a password, which it can lead to obvious security issues. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the share section, which is going to be this section right here. So the share section will vary depending on what you want to call it. So I'm calling it sharing, which is the name of my directory. We have the comment below that. This is a text field that's seen next to a share when a client does a query. So this can be used to describe the server, or it could be used to troll people, whatever your preference is. You're going to set a path which specifies the Samba directory. We're going to go ahead and set read only to no because we do want this to be writable, and then writable is going to be yes because again we want it to be writable. Browsable allows the share to be found on the network. Create mask and force create mode. What those are going to do is they're going to set what the permissions will be on newly created files. You want to make sure that you set it without the execution bit, as this can mess with Windows permissions. The directory mask sets the mask for newly created directories. Now, for these, the execution bit will be set because since we're on a Linux server, we do need to be able to have the execution bit set so we can go ahead and view and interact with those directories. The force user and force user group, force user and force group, those are going to be the user and group that we set just a few minutes ago. And then we have guest OK, which we have set to no. This is where you would actually set whether you're going to have the guest user available or not. And then valid users equals the users that you want to allow to access it to limit the users that can. So in this particular case, we're going to use the @ symbol and just put an SMB for our user. All right, we've got all that set. So let's go ahead and write and save that. We got a few more things that we need to do. Do test arm to go ahead and just make sure there's no errors. You would have errors here if there were any, but we don't have any, so we're good there. Let's clear this out. Let's go ahead and create the Samba directory, which is going to be sudo mkdir tac-p to create parent, since we're going to be creating multiple directories within a directory, well, a directory within a directory. We're going to do it at srv Samba. Then we're going to do sharing. Go. Now let's go ahead and change the ownership, because right now it's set to root. We're going to do sudo chown tac-r to go ahead and add it recursively to all of the directories, since we're going to be doing it to multiple directories, and we're going to be using srv Samba and sharing. And we got to make sure over here that we set this to smb and smb. Forgot that. All right, now let's go ahead and hit enter. All right, perfect. There we go. We've got that set. Now, the reason that we're using the SRV directory, which you may not have seen me use a lot, is because this is a directory for general server payloads managed by an admin. It's just a general server directory. So that's what we're going to use. You can honestly use any directory on your system. It doesn't really matter. All right, cool. So we got those set there. All right, perfect. We've got pretty much everything done here. I'm going to do sudo systemctl restart smb_d. All right, and this is going to go ahead and reset the daemon. There we go. All right, so anytime that you're making changes to a configuration file, you always want to go ahead and reload the daemon. Perfect. Now, one of the commands that we can go ahead and, well, actually, no, let's wait on that one. So let's go ahead and go over to this Kali machine that we have here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do smb map, and we're going to do tac capital H for to specify a host, and we're going to go ahead and select the or put in the IP address for the Samba server, and we can actually see it here. I'm going to zoom out here. All right, here we go. We've got that one right here. This is our actual directory, so there we go. We can see that they're sharing, and then Samba share directory. Okay, need to make that bigger. All right, now let's go ahead and mount this bad boy. All right, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and explain the mount command here to you because you've probably seen me use the mount command before. We of course need to use sudo privileges with that. We're going to do tac t for CIFS to go ahead and have it mount a Samba share. In case you're not aware, SMB is also known as SysFS or CIFS. CIFS is technically a different protocol than SMB, but they're pretty much used interchangeably amongst services, or amongst like the way people refer to them. So we're going to go ahead and also use the TAC O option for options. We're going to go ahead and set 3 options. We're going to go ahead and set the UID, which is going to be the user ID of the user that we want to go ahead and have access to the share directory. We're also going to go ahead and set it to their group ID. The reason we need to do this because if we don't set this, it's going to give ownership of this directory to root, and then you won't be able to do any new files or anything like that. So it'll create a lot of headaches. I spent days trying to figure this out. So hey, sometimes it takes a while to figure all this out, and a lot of tutorials online don't give this step. So I wanted to make sure that if I'm going to give you something, it's going to be something that is usable, at least when we get done, at least for what it's advertised as. And then the last option that we're going to do is username, which is going to specify the username for the Samba share, and which in this case is SMB. And then when you're setting multiple options with this command, you will go ahead and use the comma with no space between those options. The next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and specify the Samba share. It's going to be // then the IP address. You could also use the host name if you have DNS set. We're going to go ahead and then do / again, and then we're going to go ahead and do the directory name, which in this particular case is sharing. Then we're going to go ahead and specify our mount point, which is home b Samba, and we should be good to go here. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to have us first put in our sudo password. All right, and then it's going to go ahead and have us put in our Samba password. Oops. I did some testing earlier and I forgot to unmount it. So let's go ahead and umount that. Umount is just the opposite of mount. It's going to remove it. And there we go. And let's go ahead and cd into Samba. Let's do a touch file. And there we go. And if we go back over here to the server, we go to ls srv, do an ls tac srv. We're going to do Samba, and then we're going to do sharing. And there we go. And it's owned by our SMB user. So pretty cool. Now there's one other thing that I want to go ahead and show you. I'm going to have to zoom out here. So sorry for any of you that are on smaller screens, but I want to show you this additional one to get information on your Samba share on your Samba server. So we're going to do SMB status. Oops, we got to put it as root. Forget that. And there we go. So we can see here that we've got this one. We've got this one assigned right here. This is the IP address of that Kali box right there, and this is the port that it's connected on. All right, and then yeah, we can see our directory here. So that's how you get information on the actual SMB service yourself. On your server. So that is so cool. Honestly, I really, really love the open source community because they always come up with cool, great alternatives to closed source counterparts. And sometimes they're even better. Like there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with Samba, and I may even explore some of that, like using it as a direct Active Directory controller, just because I do plan on covering some Active Directory topics in the future on this channel. I know that I've primarily focused on Linux, but you're sometimes going to be even in environments where there's a lot of Linux systems, Active Directory is just awesome. It makes life so much easier, and that's something that I do plan on covering because it's still going to cross over and deal with the Linux world, and it's just one of those things that's really important to any tech environment. So I want to make sure that I cover that. Check out this other video from my channel if you're interested. Remember, mistakes make you better, so keep on making. Thank you so much for watching my video, and have the greatest of days.